The Old Testament does not give a single definitive timeline that allows for a simple calculation of the years between creation and Jesus' birth. However, scholars and theologians have attempted to create a chronology based on the genealogical records and the ages of key figures mentioned in the Old Testament. The most famous of these efforts is the one by Archbishop James Ussher, who in the 17th century used the biblical genealogies to calculate the date of creation as the night preceding Sunday, October 23, 4004 BC. Here's how these calculations are generally made, though it's important to note that they are based on specific interpretations and are subject to scholarly debate. From Adam to the flood, Genesis chapter 5 provides the ages of the patriarchs when they had their next son, e.g., Adam lived 130 years and begot a son in his own likeness, after his image, and named him Seth. By adding these ages, a timeline is created from Adam to the birth of Noah. Then the flood is dated from Noah's age. This part of the chronology is relatively straightforward. From the flood to Abraham, Genesis 11 continues the genealogy, listing the years of the post-flood patriarchs. This section gives the time from the flood to the birth of Abraham, from Abraham to the Exodus. The Bible provides more historical and chronological markers from this point, such as the length of the Israelites' time in Egypt, 430 years according to Exodus 12:40, and the time from the Exodus to the building of Solomon's temple, 480 years according to 1 Kings 6:1. From Solomon's temple to the end of the Old Testament, the reigns of the kings of Israel and Judah are recorded in the books of Kings and Chronicles, and these can be used to build a timeline leading up to the Babylonian exile and the end of the Old Testament period. By stringing these different periods together and using a variety of textual and historical sources, many traditional chronologies have arrived at a figure of roughly 4,000 years from Adam to the birth of Jesus. It is crucial to recognize that this is not a universally accepted figure. There are several factors that make a precise calculation difficult. Genealogical gaps. Many genealogies in the Bible are not necessarily continuous. The phrase begot can sometimes mean was the ancestor of, with generations potentially skipped. Different textual traditions. There are minor differences in the ages and lifespans of the patriarchs across the Masoretic text, the basis for most Protestant Bibles, the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Old Testament, and the Samaritan Pentateuch. These variations can change the total length of the timeline. Symbolic numbers. Some scholars believe that certain numbers like the 40 years of wandering in the desert or the 400-year gap between the testaments may have symbolic rather than literal significance. Therefore, while a number like 4,000 years is a common estimate based on a literal reading of the biblical text, it's an interpretation and not a figure explicitly stated in the Old Testament itself. The Old Testament provides the building blocks for such a calculation, but not the final sum.